we haven't ever been here, we're just new to the Marshall area. We had our first show back in May, and the response has really been incredible. We've been really grateful for members of the community and for the support of the community members here. There is a lot of stuff that it takes to put together this type of a show, so I just want to give a shout out to the folks who supported this show specifically. A big thanks to Daily Grind for hosting tonight. I tried to Shanghai a couple of folks to telling stories tonight from the Daily Grind. Right. They said they were a little bit busy tonight so they couldn't come up and tell stories, but maybe we can get them in the next time we come here. Yeah. Special thanks also to the Note Gallery for loaning us the PA equipment for tonight. We'll open it just down there, like we'll literally walk this back down there after we get done here. And they said that they do have lessons available and they're big supporters of the arts in this area. So big shout out and thanks to them. Also thanks to the SMSU Forensics team and the Communication and Theater Association of Minnesota who gave us grant funding to be able to function this first year. So we love featuring new storytellers, and every one of our storytellers tonight is a new performer. And no one agreed more enthusiastically to perform in our show than this next storyteller. I called her and asked, and she's like, sure. I'm like, I'm glad. Okay, so here's what it is. Barb Lipinski is the coordinator for the Adult Community Center here in town, and the Adult Community Center focuses on social, educational, informational, and community programming. We do some really incredible things there, so if you don't know much about them, you can ask Barb about it. Barb has spent almost her entire life here in the Marshall and Minneota area, and she enjoys bird watching and flower gardening, and she really enjoys teaching her grandkids, quote, everything their parents don't want them to know, but that they can only do at Grandma's house. For 20 years, she's had an incredible tradition that I'm hoping I will get to be a benefactor of here soon, and that is a cookie baking event, where they test the limits of just how much flour one person can get on them, and just how much flour, frosting, candy, and sprinkles one cookie can hold. So let's give some mass love for her story, Love and Tomatoes, Barb Lipinski.
Well, it's wonderful to be here tonight. I'm not quite sure if I was as enthusiastic as my assistant was. She goes, she has got stories, you want her. But with that said, before I get my story started on Love and Tomatoes, you need a little bit of a background of me. I grew up in Minneota. I come from a family of 6, but the important part is that I have 3 older brothers. And anytime I got in trouble, it was because they taught me. Sure. And of course, I learned every lesson from them that what I could do and get away with and what I couldn't do, I just blamed on them. So my life was pretty good growing up. So with that, we're going to get started. It was a while ago, and actually we had moved from the country into Minneota, and my brother had graduated the year before, and he went off to college. And he was doing his thing, and he came home on weekends, and he'd come home to visit his girlfriend, Linda. And they would be gone for Saturdays, you know, doing whatever they did. I'm not sure, because I was too young to even wonder what they were doing, as I was off at the swimming pool or riding bicycles, so that was nothing of my interest at that point in time. But the particular story I want to share with you is in regards to my brother who was second oldest. His name is Joe, and you have to know a little bit more about him. He was the perfectionist in the family. If he took a test and he missed an A by 1 or 2 points, he was devastated. His blue jeans, and his wife will share this story, that when they first got married, she dreaded ironing his clothes. Because his blue jeans, the seams had to be directly down the middle of his legs. And if they weren't, she had to re-iron them. So we quickly told her, no, you just give them back to him and tell him, you iron them where you want. And so she got through that quite easily. But Joe, I love him to death. He's very quiet of my 3 brothers, quietest one, the perfectionist. So Joe was home this weekend, and they had gone out Saturday night, and it was Sunday. We did our church, came home, had our noon meal, and we were all just kind of sitting around. And Joe was really, really quiet. I mean, he's quiet anyway, but he was extremely quiet that day. And I'm going, okay, must have been tired from last night, whatever was going on. So he gets up, and he goes over to the phone. Now remember, this is back when we had rotary dial phones, right? Cord's only about yay long. He's on the wall over here, so his back was toward us, and it goes, ring, 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 ring. Yeah. And he just stood there. And he stood there. And I walked back and forth, and I got something to eat, and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. And I'm looking at him, he's not saying anything. Mom says, I think he's mad at his girlfriend. Okay, so be it. Well, we all happened to really like his girlfriend, and we thought they were very close to being engaged. So there he stood. Didn't say a word. I walked by him again, go back into the living room, and I go, all right, sidetrack. When we moved into Minneota, I got to know the neighbor lady across the gravel road really, really well. Because that portion of Minneota wasn't tarred yet, it was a gravel street. And so I knew her so well that if I ever needed to, I could run into her house without knocking, and I had a safe haven. And I used it many times when I picked on my brothers. So I thought, he's being really quiet. So I walked by him, and I'm looking around, and I'm looking around. Still not saying a word. What is going on? Okay, I got it. I absolutely got it. I go walk outside, cross the street, I go into the garden. I found something. Yep, I did. Came back in the house. There he stood. Still, not a word coming out of his mouth. It's like, come on, say something, Joe. Just say something. And he didn't. So as I'm coming across the kitchen into the dining area where he was, I'm going like this, making sure there was nothing in my way. And I come up behind him. Remember, phone's on the wall. His back is like this. His hair, every strand is perfectly in place. He had really long hair then. And in my hand was the perfect ripe tomato. It wasn't too ripe. It wasn't too soft. It wasn't too hard. And I came up behind him. He didn't hear me, so he must have been listening pretty intently. And I came up behind him and I went, smash! And I turned around and I go, right across the street. About the time I hit the gravel road, he just went, not going to catch her. I flew into the house, the door slammed, and I sat down on the table with my neighbor. I said, hi, Alice. How are you? She goes, what are you up to? And I said, oh, nothing. Just staying here for a while. So I chatted with her for a little while. She goes, you really need to go back home. I said, no, just a couple more minutes here would be really nice. She goes, what did you do? So I told her that I splattered that tomato on his head, and she goes, not in Joe's head, did you? I said, yeah, on Joe's head. So I went back home, and Joe was standing there carrying on a full-fledged conversation with his girlfriend. I broke the ice. And after that, all was good. About 3 months later, they were engaged. And now they live happily ever after. They have 3 children. And when they have big mile markers for their anniversary, I always give them tomatoes.